Hello, welcome to another edition of Between Two Palm Leaves. I am Diogenes of Sinope, your host and critic of all. I have with me today the man who is said to have laid the very foundation of Western philosophy and science. Oh God, what an ego. Seriously, the very foundations? You can't be serious.
Did you say something?
No, nothing. Just can't get enough for yourself, can you? As vain as the day you ate all the figs I was kindly sharing with you.
Oh, not this again. I thought you were giving me those figs to eat, and I told you if you still had a problem with that, we could have a nice dialectical conversation with reasonable arguments, each giving our own side, the usual way that people figure out this sort of things, a nice conversation.
I mean, normal people know how to share, but not you, Plato. Oh no, you with your vanity, you think everything's about you. Living in your gaudy house, practicing your dialogue, and yet you don't even wash your own lettuces. Instead you pray to Dionysus, so you don't get your hands dirty. Now, what kind of truth does that say about you?
You know what, Diogenes? At least I have a house and I don't live by a barrel by the river.
Oh, my barrel by the river means more to me than your mansion ever will. Poverty is a virtue, and you would know nothing of that. Plus, Alexander the Great even said if he wasn't Alexander the Great, he would want to be me, so take that as you will. Anyway, I know you have been working on a new kind of wine for philosophers, and while I may not agree with you on everything, like your definition of man as fearless, featherless, biped animal.
You're gonna pull out a chicken right now, aren't you?
No, that joke was just too good the first time.
And you know that's not what I meant by the definition of man, and yet you continuously make a joke out of it. I'm just here to promote my wine, and honestly, I'm feeling really attacked right now.
Zeus almighty, Plato, learn to take a joke, will ya? Alright, but really, let's get into this. So, tell me, how is your 12-year-old lover? You treating him right?
As you well know, Diogenes, any apprentice that I take, I only have their best interests at heart. They are extremely well taught and quite fulfilled in every aspect of their life, both physically and mentally. I am not ruled by inborn animal pleasures like some people, like you, for instance, who is so lewd that you masturbate in public.
Still not bothered. I said it once and I'll say it again. If curing hunger were as easy as curing what ailed me that day, no one would think twice.
Why don't we just move on to the next question and the point of this whole interview, my wine.
Fine. We'll get to that in a second. But tell me, if you think you're so pure and pride yourself on self-control, why do you also think that love is a form of madness that takes over the brain and soul? Does that mean that since you have loved and that I have loved, then we both have madness inside of us? Does that mean that we are the same?
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. We are not the same. But yes, when one loves, there is a certain madness involved, and while some choose to control it for the betterment of the opposite party, others let the animal get the best of them.
Speaking of no self-control and animal-like qualities, what do you think of America's new president-elect Trump?
I mean, let's be honest, is this really the biggest shock? Society is decaying and is passing through the final stage of the unjust constitutions. I mean, it's a cycle, really. Modern day society is just so undisciplined and ruled by their desires, and desire really does rule everything that they do. American society is rising up, and because they're so scared that the rich are ruling everything, they decided to elect a tangerine in a toupee. And now here comes Trump, the clever demagogue, who's basically going to exploit and usher in the age of tyranny. I mean, dude, I called this in like 409 BC. I don't know why everyone is so surprised. Those Americans always say how much they love ancient Greece, but if they were really paying attention, they would have seen these election results from plethrons away.
Living in a jug by the agora isn't sounding so bad now, does it?
Diogenes, living in a jug will never be cool.
Whatever. I used to like Trump, but once he came into power, it's just not the same shock value, you know? Anyway, let's talk about your wine. Because if it's the one thing all philosophers have in common, it's wine. Just ask some of the sophists. I swear to the gods, you stand near one of those guys, you could get secondhand drunk.
Well, in wine there is wisdom, Diogenes, and with the amount that you drink, you should be the wisest of all. Anyway, I have created a specific wine meant for only philosophers and I guess rhetoricians, although that is not my preference. It is called In Vino Veritas.
Well, that's original.
Anyway, this wine is good for all those who want to discover the very meaning of truth and justice. If you're really getting into the character of questions about life and society, then this is the wine necessary. But I won't subscribe to base and sordid ways of rhetoric to try and persuade you to buy this wine. I will only tell you what this wine is and what it is not. Yes. I get these grapes from only the best vineyards and I stomp these grapes with my own feet, and it is aged to perfection, but really only you can decide if this is the wine for you. So order your first amphora today. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Great plug. Little forced though. I never actually thought of you as much of a salesman, given they are more into rhetoric. Are you sure this is your idea?
You know.
What was that?
Whatever. You know. Yeah.
What was that?
I mean, Aristotle was technically the one who wanted to do this. I mean, he was the one who was supposed to be on the show today. He really loves persuading people through rhetoric and selling things all through the powers of persuasion, but he's off tutoring Alexander the Great today, so he wrote me something to say about the wine.
Well, you certainly have me convinced to buy your gross feet wine.
You know what? I told him not to write that. I told him not to write anything. He knows how I feel about writing things and then not being able to be there to defend yourself and your words. I swear, he can be so imbecilic sometimes.
Well, like student, like teacher.
What does that even mean? Aristotle is a better philosopher than you will ever be. You literally want to be like a dog. Really? A dog.
Better to be like a dog than a plucked chicken.
You know what? I think we're done here.